welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. And I hope you have practiced all the queries that we had learned in the previous week, the last 5 sessions. So today is the 6th day of the program where we are learning SQL. In the previous session, we had understood about how to use DQL command, that is select statement, to query the data. We talked about a few clauses like the distinct clause, how it helps us fetch only the unique values, order by clause, which is basically used to sort the data in a particular sequence. It could be ascending order or descending order. We discussed about limit, how we can limit the number of records that we would want to fetch. Rather than getting all the data, we can limit the records. Then we have offset. The first row is given offset of 0. Second row is given an offset of 1. Offset basically tells about the position. Okay. The agenda for today's discussion is to work with CRUD operations, that is create, retrieve, update, and delete. We will also look at aggregate functions, group by clause, and the having clause. This is the agenda for today. So to begin with, I'm of course connected to the PG admin tool, and I'm connected to Postgres 15 training database, which we had created earlier. And I will show you the list of tables which I have here. Department, product, and students. Now I'm going to open the query tool. I will prepare some data first to work here. Okay. What is CRUD first? We said we will discuss about CRUD operations. What are CRUD operations? CRUD stands for create, which is the statement that is used to create the table and subsequently insert the data into the table. Create and subsequently we insert the data into the table after creating it. Then retrieve. After uploading some data in a table that is created, what if we might want to retrieve that data and use the data for our analysis? We use the retrieve command, that is nothing but select. So after having inserted some data, what if some modifications are to be made? What if we might to update a record, some field, some column, some row? Then we need to use update statement, which is nothing but to modify the data. Modify the data that is present inside the table. The records of data present inside the table. Okay, not alter the structure of the table, only modify the records. Then delete. If some data is not necessary, if some records are not necessary, maybe an employee left the organization and the record from that for that employee is supposed to be deleted from the employee table. Okay, let's say we have stopped selling a product and information for that product is supposed to be deleted from the products table. So when you need to remove the data, we are not talking about dropping a column. We're not talking about dropping the entire table. We're talking about deleting certain rows in the table. Okay, that is for D. D is delete. Now here, on the first day, we said that we will be covering DDL, DML, DQL as a part of this training, right? So what is DDL? DDL, which stands for Data Definition Language. It has all the commands which deal with the structure of the table, like to create the table, to alter the table by adding columns or constraints, which we discussed in detail, to drop the table completely, the table will be gone, or to truncate. These are all DDL commands. Then DML. DML is something that manipulates the data inside the table. It is data manipulation language. Okay, it deals with data manipulation, like inserting the records into the table. Okay, or updating the records in the table, or deleting the records in the table. These 3 commands are called DML commands. Then we know DQL, the most famous one. Data query language, which is the select command. So this is one way of classifying the commands. Okay, DDL, DML, DQL. This is one way of classifying. There is another way of classifying them, or another way in which we look at them, which is called CRUD operations. CRUD is to create the table. R is to retrieve the data, which is a DQL command. Update and delete are DML commands. So we have a DDL command, we have a DQL command, and we have a couple of DML commands all together come under CRUD. Okay, CRUD, create, retrieve, update, and delete, CRUD operations. But we are also familiar with this. We know what is what very clearly. Now, we have not worked with update and delete yet. That we shall be working upon today when we look at UND, update and delete part of CRUD operations. Okay, you all know how to create a table. You all know how to insert records into the table. You all know how to alter the structure of the table, drop the table, or truncate the table. You know how to retrieve the data by using select commands. You can see how it's all pretty similar. Update and delete is something we have not touched upon, and we will cover that. First, I will be doing some data preparation as always. For the topics that we are going to cover today, I'm going to prepare the data. The queries are ready. They are also shared with you. So I'm going to create a table with the name employee. I don't already have that table, so I'm creating it. Now, there are a few extra things that I have placed here. We discussed about varchar as the data type. We discussed about auto-incremented integer, which is serial. We discussed about real, and we did not talk about date and timestamp. So let's say when an employee joins an organization and when we are making an entry for that person in the table, we would like to know the timestamp. Timestamp meaning it will be date along with the time when the employee has joined, when an entry is made for that person into the table, date of joining. So look at this. This is a new data type, timestamp. And what will we store in here is the current timestamp. Date of joining cannot be null. There will be a date when they join. Here, the default value is current timestamp. What will current timestamp do is it will insert the current timestamp into the table. I will insert some data and show it to you. Last updated, let's say the status of the employee is going to be updated. Here also the data type is timestamp and the default I'm taking as now. There is no difference between this and this. Whether you say current timestamp or whether you use the now function, both of them will insert the timestamp itself, date and timestamp. So I'm going to run this query to create the table, and then I will insert some data. So one is the DQL command. Now inserting the data into the table. So this is DML. A few more records are given. So I'm going to insert that also. All the records are now inserted into the table. The data setup is done. Now let's look at the first concept for today, which is aggregate functions. First, we are going to retrieve all the data and see what is it that we are working with. Look at the timestamp field. Timestamp field, right? Whether I said current timestamp or I gave now as the function, both of them are taking the current timestamp, the time, exact time when the record was inserted into the table. All of the employees are active. Some of them belong to HR department, some of them to IT, and we have 6 employees in total with different salaries. Okay, so this is the data that we are working with. So to retrieve the entire data for all the employees from the table, the complete data, select star from employee. DQL command, okay, or the retrieve. In the CRUD operations, it stands for R, retrieving the data. Now, what if I might want to know what is the total number of records present in the database? In this table, then I'll have to do select count of star from employee. How is this different from select star? Select star gives us all the columns and all the rows. Whereas when I say count star, it is going to count the number of rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's going to give me the answer as 6. count is called as an aggregation. Okay, we said we are going to talk about aggregate functions. So what are aggregations or aggregate functions? What are these? So when you have some numerical data which you want to aggregate, on which you want to do some mathematical operation, like let's say you just want to get the summation of the data in that column. What is the total profit? What is the total sales? What is the total salaries that we are offering? Okay. Average. On an average, what is the profit made by the business? On an average, what is the salary that a person is getting? Okay. Min. What is the minimum sales value? What is the maximum sales value? What is the minimum discount we have offered? What is the maximum discount we have offered? So min referring to the lowest value, max referring to the highest value. Count, getting us the number of records or number of employees, number of departments, and then distinct count. What is the difference between count and distinct count? We had seen in the previous session. Count will count each and every occurrence, whereas distinct count will count only the unique occurrences. So these are all called as aggregate functions or simply aggregations. So when I run this command, count star from employee, you can notice that it is showing us that there are 6 records in the employee table. Okay, there are 6 records, which is basically the number of employees also, right? If we look at the structure of the table and how we have created it, ID starting with 1, it is an auto-incremented value and it is primary key. It will not get repeated. There cannot be duplicates because it is primary key. So whatever is the number of rows is equal to the number of employees. Every employee is recognized with an ID. So count star of employee is nothing but the number of records or number of employees also. Now, what if I might want to store it as number of employees? We use as. This also I had mentioned in one of the classes. As is to provide an alias. So what did I achieve? I'm counting the total number of records in the employee table and I'm calling it number of employees because the number of records is equivalent to the number of employees, which is 6 employees. Okay. So that is count, which is one of the aggregation. Now, what if I might want to get the count of departments? If I say count of departments, I think it is called DEPT. Count of department from employee table. This is going to count each and every occurrence. We know that, right? It will give me 6 again, saying there are 6. Why? Because it's counting each and every occurrence. But we have data only in 2 departments. We have some employees who are in IT. We have some employees who are in the HR department. So how to make it count the unique occurrences? Using the distinct keyword. Now this is going to give me the number of departments. So I can use an alias name as number of departments. Okay. So this is more or less like a recap only because we have seen this in the previous session, how count and count distinct are different from each other. Now let's say I need to count those employees whose salary is in the range of 30,000 to 45,000. Okay, then how do I write a query? I can say select count of the names of the employees I will count from the employee table where, now where clause. What will where clause do? It is telling us exactly what we need to fetch. Where is used to define some conditions and only the members which meet the conditions that we define in the where clause will be retrieved by the table, from the table, okay, by the system from the table. So I need the count of the employees, the names of the employees from the employee table where your salary is greater than 30,000 and the salary is less than 45,000. Suppose I give the condition like this. Okay, first let's see the data. What do we have? What salaries we have? 40, 25, 30, 45, 25, 35. I'm saying it should be greater than 30,000, less than 45,000. Greater than 30, less than 45. We have only 2 such employees. These 2 will meet whatever conditions we have written, these 2 will meet. Now, when I run this, you can see it's fetching 2. Because only 2 employees have met the condition. There is another way of writing this. We can use between clause. We can use all sorts of mathematical operators where salary is equal to something or not equal to, greater than equal to, less than equal to. All sorts of operators you can use. And this is called as logical AND. This is a logical operator. Okay. And this will return true when both the conditions are true. Means it will give me only count of those records where the salary is greater than 30,000 and also less than 45,000. Okay, greater than something and less than something means something falling in that range. Falling in that range. Now, if I say, rather than giving it like this, if I say where the salary is going to be between 30,000 and 45,000. What will happen? Will it give me the same output, number 2, or not? Let's check. It's giving me 4. It's not giving me 2. It's giving me 4. Why so? I'm saying I want something, the count of the names of the employees whose salary is in between 30 and 45,000. Then why is it showing me 4? Because when we use the between clause, it is inclusive of both the numbers that are specified over here. Though it is read as between, it will be from 30,000 up to 45,000. It is inclusive of these 2 numbers. That is why it is giving me 4, which is equivalent to saying greater than or equal to 30,000 and less than or equal to 45. So this statement is equivalent to this statement now. If I run this, you will get 4. Okay, so we need to be careful with the between clause. Between is inclusive of both the numbers that are specified over there. Okay, now let's say I need to figure out what is the total salaries that the company is paying to the employees. It means how much of the revenue goes towards salary payment. Whatever revenue is being generated, how much of it goes towards payment of salaries to the employees? Because every company has to deal with this, right? They have to pay salaries to their employees. They will have some bills to pay off, like electricity bills, the maintenance, the infrastructure upgrade. So a lot of things, they spend money on a lot of things. So how much are they spending towards the salaries? Suppose I need to answer that question, I will have to write a query where I will use the aggregation sum. Select sum of salary from employee table. Summation of the data present in the salary column. When I run this query, it is 2 lakhs, which means every month, towards the end of the month, the business is supposed to make sure that their bank account has this much amount, because this amount will be taken from the account of the organization and will be deposited as salaries into the employees' accounts. So minimum this much is mandatory to be there in the company account. That is the total salaries being paid. On an average, what is the salary being paid? Suppose I need to figure out on an average, what is the salary that we are paying to our employees? All I need to do is change this sum to average. On an average, the salaries being paid are this much. What is the minimum salary being paid to an employee? What is the minimum salary? So I'll have to change the aggregation to min. This is the minimum salary being offered. If I run it, you can see this is the minimum salary, 25,000. What is the highest salary that an employee is getting? What is the maximum that we are paying to an individual employee as a salary? Max. If I run the max aggregation, I can see that 45,000 is the maximum salary being paid. Okay. Now, what if we need to identify the employee with the minimum salary? You need to recollect what was discussed in the previous session. Minimum, what is the minimum salary? I know it is 25,000. How do I know who is getting that salary of 25,000? What is the name of that person? Then I have to do it slightly differently. Aggregation will not work. Then I will have to say select name, comma, salary from employee, where I will order it. Order by salary, and I will do a limit 1. Okay. So this gives me the name of the employee who is making minimum salary, that is 25,000 going to Priya. What if I have to identify the employee who is getting the maximum salary? Then I simply need to change my order by to descending order. Once I make it descending, I know that Rajaram is the person who's getting 45,000 salary. That is the highest being paid to an employee. Okay, anyway, this is just to recap on that. So I hope you all understood aggregation, summation, average, minimum, maximum, count, and distinct count. Okay, now I will run an alter command to insert location into the table. Little data setup I would like to do because I need location also over here. Very quickly, because you're all familiar with the alter command, there's nothing to explain there. Directly, I'm going to alter the table employee, add a location column, and I'm giving it the default value of Hyderabad. Similarly, okay, this is done. So we said we will be discussing CRUD operations today. We know creating the table and inserting data into the table. Retrieving, we have seen a few commands. Let's talk about update now. Update, what will it do? It will update the data that is present in the table. That is why it comes under DML, data manipulation language. So here, if we look at the data that we have, this is our data. Okay, this is our data. Let's say I need to change the location. I entered a column, I created a column location, and by default, everybody is in Hyderabad. But I need to update the location for Priya. Let's say this person belongs to Chennai. Let's say Priya and Ravi Kiran, both of them are from Chennai, and I need to update their location from Hyderabad to Chennai. Not for all the employees, only for these 2 employees, we need to update the record from Hyderabad to Chennai. How to do it? How to target only those 2 records and change the location over there, manipulate the data. So we use the DML command, which is update, DML, which is update. How do we write the syntax for an update query? We use the update keyword, of course. Update, what is it that we are trying to update? Table. So table name, update followed by that the table name, employee. I would like to set the location to Chennai. Okay, I would like to set the location to Chennai. If I run this command, it will update all the data to Chennai, all the entire column. I don't want entire column to be replaced with Chennai. No. Where? Which records? Now you focus on those records. Tell it exactly which records are supposed to be updated. I need to update the employee table. What update do I would I like to make? Set the location to Chennai. Am I supposed to do this for all the rows in the table? No. Only where the name of the employee is in this list. If it's 1, then you can say name equal to Priyadarshini or like that. But here in, and I'm going to provide the list. Ravi Kiran or Priyadarshini. Okay, these are the 2 people for whom the location is supposed to be updated. When you have multiple values, you can use the in clause where the name is in operator in this. Okay, so in this list. So when I run this query, it will get updated. And now when I do a select star and check the data, run the DQL command, the retrieve, You can see how for these two people, this got updated. Location got updated. Notice one thing though, the last updated field did not get updated. The purpose of last updated is what? Generally here in this table is, whenever any change is made to any record in the table, the timestamp should get updated. But it is still the same timestamp that was used when the record was inserted. This did not automatically change. It doesn't. We need to run a function. We need to write a trigger. Okay, so when we learn about triggers, we will see this example. I just want you all to remember that when I updated the record, the last updated field, the timestamp in that field did not get updated. It is expected to get updated, but it did not. Because for it to be updated automatically, we need to run a trigger. Okay, which we will learn a little later in the training. That time I will show you. Just remember this didn't work. How do we make it work? We will see later. Okay, so now I updated the location for the employee to Chennai. Let's say for this employee, Akhil, whose ID is 6, I want to update the location to Mumbai. This person belongs to Mumbai. Then how do I do it? Update followed by the table name, set location equal to Mumbai, where if you have name, you can say name equal to so-and-so. Here I'm doing it by ID, where ID equal to 6. So only for that record where the ID equal to 6, location will be updated. Okay, so if I show you the data, for that person whose ID was 6, location is updated to Mumbai. Okay, like this we run the update queries, which is a DML command. Under CRUD Operations, it stands for U. Then we will talk about delete. This is also a DML command. Delete. Delete is when you have to delete only one row or only those rows which meet some condition that you define. Not all the rows, only when they meet the condition that we define, we can delete them. So this is under CRUD Operations, it stands for D, right? D stands for delete. Under CRUD, it represents D. I would like to delete. From where? Delete from where? From employee table. Then what is it that you want to delete? Okay, delete from employee. Okay, what exactly? If I just say delete star from employee, it will delete the entire data from employee. I'm not talking about deleting entire data. I want to delete the record, let's say, for the employee Akhil. Okay, delete from employee where name equal to Akhil. So what will this do? It will delete only this person's record. Only one record will be deleted. Okay, or delete from employee where the salary is greater than 40,000. Completely all the employees whose salary is more than 40,000 will be deleted. Okay, so you can give any sort of conditions in the where clause based on which it will delete only those records which meet the conditions that we define. We are not trying to delete entire data, only certain number of records which meet the conditions we define are supposed to be deleted. So the where clause is very important. Now, not everybody will be given the access to perform updates and deletes and inserts into a table. Almost everybody who has access to the database will be given the permission to select, that is to retrieve the data. Update and delete are not given to everyone, because if by mistake they delete all the data, again, it will be a big problem because we have to restore the data. So database administrators, they keep taking a backup of the data from time to time. And when anybody makes a mistake and it has to be reverted, they will go ahead and restore the data. Okay. So delete and update, you need to be extremely careful when you're running them. Don't delete the whole thing by mistake. Now this ran successfully, which means when I check the data from the employee table, you can notice that record for Akhil is not available anymore because I deleted it. So I'll just put it back. Okay, I'm going to put back the data. A couple of records I'm going to insert. Okay, now let me select the data and show you the data, because now we will be working on this data to understand about two very important clauses. One is group by, the other is having. Okay, I'm ordering the data in the employee table by ID, so you can see the data. Just copy this. I don't know if it will. Yeah, I got it here. These are the records that we'll be working with. Okay. So we have ID, we have name, department, date of joining, status, salary, last updated, and we have the location. Okay, this is the data. We have data for these employees, and this is the data. Okay. We will now talk about group by and having, but before that, let me just quickly check if there are any questions. I'm not going. Let me just check the questions on YouTube now, and then we will continue. Okay. Where name equal to Ravi Kiran or name equal to Ravi Kiran or name equal to Priyadarshini. You have to use like that. Okay. And where ID equal to 1 and ID equal to 2, you can do that. You can use like that. Specifically, you can say ID equal to 1 or ID equal to 2. Or if, because it is a list, you can say ID. You can say ID in, and then you provide the list 1, 2, 3. So it is, if it is multiple values, you can list them out using the in, or you can say ID equal to 1 or ID equal to 2. You can do that. You can do that. Both are fine. All right. Okay. So very few questions today. I hope that is because everything is clear. What is the meaning of distinct? If it's still not clear, you may refer to the previous session, module 5, day 5. There we discussed in detail. Today also we discussed. If it's not clear, you can refer back there. Okay. All right. So now moving to a very, very important part of today's discussion. So we have seen CRUD operations, retrieve, create, delete, update, all these, DML, DQL, and DDL. Okay, this is something we are familiar with now. Now we are going to look at some more clauses. In the previous session, we looked at distinct clause. We looked at limit, order by, offset, all these things. Now what we will see is, we will see group by. Group by. Okay, after that we will see having. So what is group by? It is something that will help us group the data together. Okay, bring similar data together. You need to visualize it like that. I will tell you with an example. Let's say I need to know how many employees are there in each location. We know that we have employees who belong to different locations. We have people who are from Chennai. We have people who are from Hyderabad, and we have people from Mumbai. Now, my requirement is to understand, to figure out the number of employees who are present in each location, not the total number of employees per location. Then what to do? I need to write something like this. Select location and the count of the data. Okay. This I will take as number of employees. Okay, I'm using alias from the employee table. Then what? If I just do this, okay, location and count star from employee table, it will just give me an error because it will tell you can't mix a non-aggregate function and an aggregate. You can't have one row level field where it's looking at each and every location present in each and every row, and then one aggregate function. Okay, you can't have a regular field with an aggregate function. This will not work. It will throw an error. It can't be used. Then what to do? Whatever is given over here, the regular field like location, I need to go here and group by that field location. So exactly what will happen here? Okay, first it is going to project onto the table. It is going to take all the data from the employee table and it is going to group the records by location. And then it is going to count the number of people under each location, number of records corresponding to each location. Then it is going to count and display the output. That is the sequence in which the query is going to work. So what will it do? It will project onto that table. Means it just looks at the entire data in the table. It is projecting onto the entire data into the table. Okay, then it's going to group by location. Visualize all the data corresponding to location Hyderabad coming together. Visualize all the records corresponding to the location Chennai going together into one bucket. Visualize all the records corresponding to Mumbai going together into another bucket. Okay, so it's just, they're all going into different buckets. So what will essentially happen? This is all one bucket. Location Hyderabad. This is one block. Wherever the location is Hyderabad, they all come together forming one block. Imagine this as one group, one bucket, one bundle. Okay. All the records where the location is Chennai go together. They come together forming another block, another bundle. Okay. And then all the data corresponding to Mumbai is another block. So first it projects onto the table. There it's focusing on the group by clause related to location. Everything corresponding to Hyderabad becomes one group. Everything corresponding to the next location, Chennai, is one group. And everything corresponding to Mumbai, which is only one row, is one group. Now, after having segregated the data into groups, after segregating the data into groups, it is going to count the number of rows. Count star. How many? 4 over here. Okay, it's going to count. So that is how this query will work. Now, when I run it, you can see the answer. Mumbai, we have only 1. Chennai, we have 2. Hyderabad, we have 4. Number of records here is nothing but the number of employees. That point we discussed. Okay. Now, let's say I need to identify the number of employees in each location and by department also, under each department in that location. Okay, there are 4 employees in Hyderabad. I understand that. But how many of them belong to IT? How many of them belong to HR? There are a couple of people from Chennai, but how many of them are from IT? How many of them are from HR department? Exactly. I want that count now. Okay, I want that count, which means I should say select location, comma, department, and then count from, okay, we can use the alias as number of employees from employee table, group by location. If I leave it here, it's going to throw an error. If I leave it over here, it will throw an error because the number of columns that you give here followed by the select clause, the regular fields without an aggregation, non-aggregates, and the number of fields in the group by should be the same. That is what it is telling here. Employee department column from the employee table must appear in the group by clause or be used in the aggregate functions. Otherwise, it will not work. So here I am supposed to specify department. The number of non-aggregate regular normal fields, okay, in the select should be equal to the number of ones in the group by. Means whatever you are selecting, you need to create groups based on that. We can't have inconsistent number of columns on either side. Now, when I run this, it will give me. So what did it exactly do here? How does it work? It projected onto the table. Then it created groups on the combination of location and department. After that, it is counting the number of records, which is the number of employees in our case, for every combination of location and department. It is displaying location and department and also the count. This is the third thing. Okay, so what did it do? It's creating groups on the combination of location and department. So this is our data. This is our data. Now it's focused on the combination of location and department. Hyderabad with IT is one group. So I have 3 records for the combination of that location and that department, Hyderabad with IT. Then Hyderabad and HR, I have, that is another group, and I have only one row for that combination, one record. Chennai HR is another record. So that is one more combination, one more block, one more bundle, one more partition. It's grouping the data based on the common fields. This is another. Chennai with IT is another. Then Mumbai with IT is another. Okay, hope you'll understood. So now the grouping is being done on the combination of location and department. Combination of location and department. Chennai with HR is one combination. Chennai and IT is another combination. Hyderabad IT is one combination. Hyderabad HR is one combination. Mumbai IT is one combination. So after grouping it like this, okay, after grouping it like this, then it is counting under each combination how many rows and displaying it to us. So Hyderabad IT we have 3. Everywhere else, all the other combination we have 1 each. You can see Hyderabad IT we have 3. All the other combinations of location and department, the groups which are created on the combination of location and department are like this. So I hope you are able to visualize how the group by clause works. It's segregating the data into buckets. It is bundling, it is creating bundles, okay, or it's creating buckets where it's putting all the related data in there. CRUD, DML, DQL, all these, CRUD base exclusively create, update, retrieve and delete. Those 4 operations which are extensively used in databases, together I'll call CRUD. Same thing, again you have them repeat in DDL, DML, DQL. Under CRUD, what you have as retrieve is a DQL command. Under CRUD, what you have as update and delete is a DML command. Under CRUD, what you have as create is a DDL command. Okay, Sandeep? It's the same. All right. So I hope group by is clear to all of you. Now let us do one more thing. We'll do one more example. We need the number of employees in each location in each department where the salary is greater than 35,000. Okay. Number of employees under each department and location where the salary is greater than 35,000. So how to build a query for this? Let's see. If I write it here, okay, so I'm doing it right. So I need location, department and number of employees from that table for a combination of location and department where the salary is greater than 35,000. This will throw an error. If I run this query, I'm going to get an error. It will not be allowed. Why? Because where condition works with row level data. Where should be applied before the group by, before creating the buckets, before creating the bundles of data where we're grouping the data together. Okay, before that, where should work? where cannot work after group by. Very important point. Okay, where cannot work after group by. It works before group by. Yeah, group by is a categorical clause. Yeah. So what to do here? I will not write it here. Instead, I have to write it before. From employee, where salary is greater than 35,000, and then you group by. So what will happen if I run this? It's giving me the data, but how is it executing this data? Right? What is the order of execution? So first is it projects onto that table. Second, it will put a filter. Where is like you're putting a filter again, right? You're saying focus only where this condition is met. So from the entire data, that table that it has projected onto, it's going to pick only those records where the salary is greater than 35,000. So whichever records meet that condition of greater than 35,000, it's going to group them. And then it is going to count. So this will be the third, and then getting the count is the fourth. That is the order of execution. Okay, so what is it doing? It projects onto the data, entire employee table. From here, it focuses on those rows where the salary is greater than 35,000, right? Greater than 35,000. So it's as good as this bit. Greater than 35,000, which means what? 40,000, 45,000 and 50,000. Okay, so the second thing is this. First, it projected onto the table from employee. From that projection, it is applying the where condition as the second step and focusing on those records where the salary is greater than 35,000. From this, it is now creating groups for the combination of location and department. So we have all unique only. Chennai and HR is one combination, one block. Hyderabad with HR is another block, another group, and Mumbai with IT is another group. Okay, now if at all I had something like Hyderabad and IT, Hyderabad and HR, if at all, imagine if this was Hyderabad, if at all this was Hyderabad, then the grouping would have been like this. Grouping would have been like this. Okay, just imagine if we had two employees from Hyderabad who belong to HR department whose salary is greater than 35,000, the grouping would have been this, like this. Okay, so I'm not doing a grouping. That is how it works. What I'm trying to focus here is the order of execution. It projects onto the table. From there, it applies the where condition, focuses only on those records which meet the conditions. And then from the data that is satisfying the condition, we are asking it to group by location and department. So for the combination of location and department, it is going to create the groups and then count how many people are there in each group. So we have our groups like this. Hyderabad HR is one group. Hyderabad IT is one group. Chennai HR is one group. Hyderabad HR is one group. Mumbai IT is one group. So that is what we are seeing in the final output. I hope you all understood this. Okay. So the where clause should be applied before the group by clause and not after the group by clause. If it is applied after the group by clause, it will throw an error. Where cannot be applied after group by. It has to be applied before group by. Why? Because it projects onto that data. It is putting row level filter, focusing only on those records meeting the condition. Then subsequently it will do the group by. Okay. So what if I write it like this instead? There is one more clause called as having. Okay. Here, I think it will not work. I will give you another example for having. Okay. because having is a different concept. We will see that. Now let's see one more question. Let's say we need to identify those employees, okay, whose location okay. Now when I run this query, we have seen that there are some locations where we have many employees, right? So Mumbai has only one employee. In Chennai, we have 2 employees. And in Hyderabad, we have 4 employees. Now, my requirement is to look at only the names of those locations where the number of employees is more than 1. Okay, where the number of employees is greater than 1. Then if I write like this, if I say this and if I say where the count of star, which is the number of employees, is greater than 1, will it work? It will not work. We clearly established we can't use where after the group by clause, so it will not work. Suppose I put it here. Suppose I put it before the group by clause. Okay, we said where cannot be used after group by. It has to be used before group by. So if I take where before group by and run this query, will it work? This will also not work. Okay, this will also not work. Why is it not working? Because here we want to work with aggregated data, isn't it? Where is a condition that works with row level data? Remember the order of execution. It is going to the employee table, then it tries to put the where condition. So if I say count star greater than 1, what is it supposed to count? It doesn't know. It doesn't know what to count because grouping is not done yet. This is second thing. After projecting onto the table, it's trying to apply the where condition, and in where condition we have an aggregation and it will not work here. So how do I achieve it? Okay, how do I achieve my final result over here? What we will do is, instead of where, we use something called as having. Okay, having clause comes after aggregation. Having is applied after aggregation. Very important point, even from an interview perspective. What is the difference between where and having? Where should you use the where clause? Where should you use the having clause? Remember always, where works on row level data and it is applied before the group by. Okay, like I was showing you. First, it projects onto the table. After projecting onto the table, the entire data, here it's putting the where condition, focusing on those records with a salary of greater than 35,000. Only 3 records meet that condition. After that, with whatever data is meeting the condition, it created groups and showed us the information, right? So where is applied on row level data. Here, after the aggregation, we want to apply a condition. Getting it? We are not trying to apply the condition before the aggregation. First, we want the aggregation to happen. By location, we would like to group these fields first. First, we want this to happen. The bundling, the grouping is supposed to happen. After grouping the data by location, after that, I want to check how many members are there in each group. 4 in Hyderabad, 2 in Chennai, 1 in Mumbai. So whatever result I obtained after grouping, 4 here, 2 here, and 1 here, I need to take this and check whether it is greater than 1 or not. I need the those locations where the employee count or the number of records are greater than 1. So on this grouped data, where we have aggregated it, I need to put a condition. So when you have to put a condition on grouped data, you must go with having. Got the difference between having and where clause, everybody? Some of you were asking in the chat also, right? Can we use having and all? So remember always having works with aggregated data, where works with row level data. Where is applied before group by, having is after you have group by, after you have aggregated. On that aggregated data, you put the condition. Okay, let us see one other example, last example to drive the point home. Yeah, Manpreet, yes, we will cover joins also, and we will be doing that tomorrow. Yeah, we will cover joins. So let's say I need to find out how many employees are there from Hyderabad. Number of employees from Hyderabad. Here, there is no aggregation in the sense numerical data is not involved. Only categorical data is there in my question. I need the number of employees from Hyderabad. So I will say select location and count star from employee table. So how to write it? I need the total number of employees from Hyderabad. It's all categorical data. I can say where location equal to Hyderabad and then group by location. Okay, group by location. Let me run this query. Now, if we have enough data, we can see. Just see. I ran this query and look at the runtime of this query. It is 0.056. 0.05. Hardly any time. 0.05. So how does this query work? Okay. How does this query work? So order of execution. First, it projects onto the table. Then it will apply a filter, fetching the data corresponding to Hyderabad. After getting all the records from Hyderabad, it creates a group of all the locations in Hyderabad, and then it is going to count. Okay. So this is how it will work. This is how it will work. So what did it do? It goes to the table, projects onto the table. Then it applies the where condition, where location is equal to Hyderabad. So it's applying the where condition where it focuses only on the data corresponding to Hyderabad. And then it counts how many? 4. And it gives us the output. In 0.056 seconds, we got it. Not seconds, milliseconds, 0.056, that's milliseconds. Okay. I can write the same thing in another way also. I can write the same query like this. Instead of putting where, suppose I use group by location, having location equal to Hyderabad. Then what will happen? Okay, if I run this query, what will happen? It is the same query, which I'm running in a different way. Look at the time that it has taken, 0.082 from 0.056, which is very small data that we are working with. It has increased to 0.82. Why did the runtime, the time to execute this query, the time to bring the data from this query increase? Because of the order of execution. Here, what will happen? First, it projects onto the employee table. Then it puts a filter focusing on the data corresponding to Hyderabad. Then it creates a group. Then it counts. Okay, if you understand this, you will not have any confusion between group by and having. But in the second query, what is happening? It is projecting onto employee, no doubt. After that, it is grouping them by location. From there, it is taking the data for Hyderabad and then counting. So you might think, how does it matter? How does it matter whether it is first putting the filter and then grouping or grouping and then putting a filter? It matters a lot because in the second query, what's happening? It's creating groups unnecessarily. It is doing a lot of work. First, it projects onto the table. After that, it is creating groups. It's looking for location. All Hyderabad, it is going to form one group. All corresponding to Chennai, it's going to form another group. All the ones corresponding to Mumbai, it's going to form another group. And we have very small data here. After grouping, then it is looking for only Hyderabad. Understood? After grouping, after doing all the hard work, of scanning through the entire data, segregating them into groups, then it is looking for Hyderabad. And it's saying there are 4 corresponding to Hyderabad. With such a small data, we could see a significant increase in the number of microseconds or milliseconds taken to run it. And imagine when you have big data. So when you are having conditions like this, which should work with row level data, use the where clause, filter the data upfront, and on the remaining data, you do the grouping part and take what you need. But when you have to work with aggregated data like this, only when you're working with aggregated data, then you can use having. Otherwise, don't use having. When it is row level data, don't use having. Unnecessarily, it is grouping all the locations. Then it is focusing on Hyderabad, doing unnecessary work. Overload is going to happen on the system, which is absolutely not necessary. So when to use having? When you're working with the aggregated results. After having aggregated, when you have to put a condition on the aggregated data. Okay, this is a little tricky actually. Where and having can be a little tricky, but if you understand the order of execution, then you will be able to implement it correctly. Okay, I hope everything discussed today is clear. Here we'll wind up. Thank you all so much for joining today. Please do subscribe to the channel in case you haven't. And please do like the video and share it with your friends and with your colleagues as much as you can to help us. Okay, thank you all so much. That's it from my side for today. Okay, Pankaj, window function. Okay, I'll see. If time permits, I will include it. Okay, any other questions, any of you, before we can wind up? Anyone who hasn't subscribed yet, kindly subscribe. It would be a huge motivation to us. We can show total is nothing but summation. No? You can say sum of and show the total. Okay, thank you all. Thank you all. Bye-bye.